Hey guys, Joe here, and today is just going to be a rehab of a $10 computer that I picked up for $10. This is a Dell something or other. It used to have a Core i5 in it. It no longer does. It has a Core i7, which pisses me off, which means it would probably change the processor at some point. So there's a chance this thing might not even work. However, an i3 3120 and an i5 entry level should both work about the same. Anyways, this was on OfferUp, which is like Let Go, and the guy had a complete system that I didn't want because all I wanted was a motherboard processor combo. And he was like, well, I've got this thing. So I went over, took a look at it, and in his pile of junk parts, this was sitting there. So I grabbed it. It was 10 bucks. He said it works. I'm hoping it works. Got a lot of loose parts and stuff floating around inside the case. But first thing I need to do is, while it's in this case, go ahead and see if it'll post. If it posts, then I'll feel more confident that the system is usable, and then I'll transfer it out of here and put it into my NZXT case. So let me show you the insides. So this is the processor. As you can see, it's an i3 2120. It's better than a 2100, barely. And it's on a proprietary board, which is a pain in the ass because it uses that connector for the front USBs as well as the power button. And I'm just going to have to kind of rig it all together so that it works because, again, it's not staying in this case. The board itself is pretty basic. It does have 2 PCI slots in it. However, I'll only be using 1. It also has 4 RAM slots, which I will be filling up. I'm going to reuse the stock cooler, which looked like it was in good shape, but other than that, I'm not going to use anything else. This power supply, I'm not even going to try to use it. Looks like it's a... Wow, I don't know if it'll focus on that. Yeah, 265 watt power supply and a really old DVD-R, but I have a better one. So yeah, let's go ahead and start changing things over and I'll update you. Okay, it actually booted up, and as you can see, it is seeing the processor, iCore i3 2120 at 3.3 gigahertz. Let's see. Sees the 1 stick of RAM I put in there, as well as that's it for right now. So what I need to do is shut this down, transfer the parts, because that's just sitting on top of the processor, and I put 1 stick of RAM in there just in order to be able to boot the damn thing, because without RAM or the fan plugged in, it doesn't boot. But as you can see, it does boot, so I will go ahead and replace the thermal paste with some Arctic Silver, take the board out, put it in my other case, hook all that back up, and reboot it. So I'll be back with you in a minute. Well, that's number 1 gutted. I'm going to get rid of this case and be back in a minute. This computer brought to you by GATTO. Check that out, huh? Yes, we had to do some dirty work to get this thing running. As you can see, I had to booger it together, as I was saying in the previous clip. The front USB ports and everything are on a proprietary connector, so rather than trying to wire that one in, splicing, stupid stuff like that, I just took the whole assembly out and just slapped it on top of the case. Because this is just something to use for a little while, because this computer, this motherboard and processor and everything will be going into a different case to go with a project I'm working on, but I want to make sure this thing is fully functioning before I swap it over. So yeah, let's take another look at it. So new thermal paste applied, 12 gigs of RAM, and a cattywampus fan because, again, Captain Dell with their proprietary connectors, I couldn't use my nice NZXT fans. The GTS 450 is in there and working. No issues there. Downloaded the new drivers, everything's fine. Because this case does not have an optical bay, I wound up sticking the CD-ROM or DVD-ROM inside, and I got to put another piece of sticky foam right there to raise it up a little bit. Wireless adapter is just sitting on top. 128 gig SSD for the boot drive, and a 1 terabyte Western Digital Black for storage. So yeah, that's about it. Apparently it's missing an ambient air temperature sensor, but I don't really care But other than that, it actually boots pretty good. I'll come back once it's booted. Luckily, one of the benefits to having an SSD is that stuff boots up really darn quick. I did turn off the boost feature, so it's always at 3.26 gigahertz, even though it says it's supposed to be at 3.3, but whatever. This processor is not overclockable, so there's not much I can do about that. I already ran the Cinebench, and as you can see, it ran at 283 because, again, I can't overclock this thing. It did do better than my laptop, which got a massive 98. And then when you look at the OpenGL, only averages 60 frames a second. Those numbers are not great. They're horrible, actually. They're worse than the old X6 that I built a while back, especially since the X6 I could overclock it, and this one I can't. But for just a YouTube video machine, it will do the job. And when it goes into the other thing that I'm working on, it will make more sense. So for the meantime, I have a rig that can just go online, play some light games, and yeah, other than that, it seems to be pretty fine. So yeah, $10 investment. The rest of the parts were stuff I had laying around, and I have a working computer. Obviously, if I threw like an i5 in that board, it would bump up quite a bit. And being that it's a 2120, I believe that's on the Skylake. So I think I could even throw an i7, a basic i7, like a 2500 or a 2600 in there. If I can, then that would be even better, because you can find those processors pretty cheap, at least out here. Except for when Scrapyard Wars, Linus Tech Tips does anything, and then the prices go up everywhere for some reason. There's a guy that has an i5 3770K or an i7 3770K. He wants like $400. 2 weeks ago he was at $200, so what can you do? Whoop-de-doo. So yeah, if you'd like to leave me a message, go ahead and do that. If you haven't subscribed, click on my head. If you'd like to see me go out and buy stuff like this, $20, $30 computers, and see how good I can turn them into, I wish this was overclockable, but again, just click up here, support me through Patreon, and then you can just click right here and watch another video or two. So, as always, talk to you later.